Hello, everyone. Welcome to the All Day Football Show. I'm your host, as always, Jackson Kellogg, and today I've got you NFL Week 14 analysis, jumping right into it with our top 10, and we'll have our game picks. We've got power rankings from last week, had a bunch of teams moving up after some games. Little bit different this week. Not too much changes, but there were some significant ones. We have the top four staying the same after wins by the Cardinals, Packers, and Patriots. Cardinals, Buccaneers, and Patriots. The Packers had a bye this past week. We have the Chiefs, who move up a spot after winning against the Broncos. The Rams move up a couple spots after stopping their losing streak and beating the Jags. The Cowboys move down a spot, more so just because of the other games, but they beat the Saints last week in a game where they probably could have lost if the Saints weren't completely demolished by injuries. We've got the Ravens, who drop a spot as well. We've got the Chargers, who move up into the top 10 after beating the Bengals, who drop out of the top 10. So the Ravens take hold of the AFC North standings for a bit, even with the loss to the Steelers. And then the biggest change was the Bills dropping 5 spots after a loss on Monday Night Football to the Patriots. So game picks for this week. Tonight on Thursday Night Football, we couldn't beat the Lions Bowl between the Steelers and the Vikings. We've got the Steelers taking the win in that one. Then the rest of the interconference matchups. We've got the Saints beating the Jets, Seahawks beating the Texans, the Broncos and Chargers beating the Lions and Giants, the 49ers winning on the road against the Bengals, and the Buccaneers winning at home against the Bills. Moving into the AFC matchups, we've got the Ravens winning on the road against the Browns, who are coming off of a bye. We've got the Chiefs and Titans both taking wins against the Raiders and Jaguars. And then in the NFC, we have the Cowboys and the Falcons taking wins on the road against Washington and Carolina. Then we have the Packers and Cardinals winning at home against the Bears and Rams. The two games I'm looking at this week are the Bills-Buccaneers game and the Rams-Cardinals game. So Bills-Buccaneers, if the Bills lose, that further solidifies the Patriots' spot as the number one team in the AFC East and can help push them into that number one seed in the AFC. If the Buccaneers lose, that kind of diminishes their chances at a first-round bye in their playoff seeding. So this is a must-win game for both teams in terms of playoff seeding, and the Bills, they could end up sliding down in a loss streak. So they got to get their act together as they currently sit at 7-5, about 2 games back behind the Patriots. So they got to step up if they want to get back into that AFC East contention. And the Cardinals-Rams, the Rams are 2 games behind the Cardinals coming into this week, I believe. They're either 2 games back or a game back. I forget exactly what. I think it's 2, though. So if the Rams win this game, they move the margin to just 1 game behind for the NFC West. The Cardinals win, that kind of puts them in at a lock for the division, as they'll be 3 games ahead. So that'll be tough for the Rams to catch up on, considering the rest of the seasons for both teams. So it's a must-win more so for the Rams than the Cardinals, but if the Cardinals win, that just kind of solidifies their spot up there atop of the division and a possible spot at the number 1 seed. But I do have the Cardinals and the Buccaneers winning those matchups. Those will be some fun games to watch. The Patriots on Monday Night Football travel to Buffalo in a game with 50 to 50 mile per hour winds. Which, everybody's like, oh, it's in Buffalo, the Bills will win, da-da-da-da-da. Who went in there and beat the Bills by a record of only 3 pass attempts, something that hasn't been seen since the 70s. The Patriots ran the ball on over 40 carries and won 14-10. It came down to a few, I wouldn't say mistakes by the Bills, but a few errors. They had a 33-yard chip shot field goal that just got taken by the wind that would have at one point put the score at 14-13. And on the Bills' final drive, they wouldn't have had to go for the touchdown. They would have just had to get back into field goal range and kick it. It didn't happen. They had to push for a touchdown, and it ended up costing them. The wind played a huge factor in this game that I don't think we've seen in a game in a few years at the very least. It was gusty. The ball was getting carried everywhere. It was near impossible to throw the ball. But it wouldn't seem that way with the way Josh Allen was playing. So I had Josh Allen in fantasy. I ended up losing. But it was a very dominant showing for Josh Allen's arm strength. Though with the way the wind was whipping, the ball was flying everywhere. Yet somehow Josh Allen was still fairly accurate. There were a bunch of misses because of the wind, but he was still on target with a bunch of his passes throwing into the wind. That just shows the amount of arm strength Josh Allen has, and I think people will take that for granted. But Josh Allen has grown so much as a passer, and I don't think people will see that. The Patriots have the number 1 defense in the league right now. They have a top 3 offense. From PFF, the only team with a top 3 defense and a top 3 offense. Patriots don't have a game this week. They're on their bye. They finished the season at home against the Colts, at home against the Bills, at home against Jacksonville, and then on the road against the Dolphins. This is a very winnable end to the season for the Pats and a possible outlook at a number 1 seed in the AFC, something a lot of people definitely did not expect them to do. And I'm sorry, I blanked. They're on the road against the Colts. It's something that a lot of people did not expect them to happen, and it did. We're back, baby! Now, the question is, can a dynasty be restarted? I don't know. We'll have to see. But I do think this is a year where I think the Patriots can make the playoffs, make the Super Bowl. And I think they will make the Super Bowl because of what's going on in the AFC. I think the only team that will really compete with them is the Chiefs and the Titans if Derrick Henry comes back with a full head of steam. But other than that, I'm not seeing very many other contenders in the AFC. The Chargers, Ravens, Bills, Colts, Bengals, Steelers even, they're all severely inconsistent. And I don't see any changes happening there. So this is one of those moments where the Patriots, if they can win out, they lock up the number 1 seed. So they got to finish strong on the rest of the season, go into the playoffs with a bang. They're pretty much almost locked at this point. They would have to lose all of their remaining 4 games and then have a bunch of other matchups happen for them to get knocked out. So they're there. They just have to keep it up and not lose their head of steam. But even if they don't make the Super Bowl, or even if they make the Super Bowl and they lose, this is still a positive season. They did this with a rookie quarterback. Everybody thought this was going to be a rebuild year. It was just a reload year. There was a fun skit by a Bleacher Report. They do a video every week called like a cartoon series called Gridiron Heights. It was a couple years ago, but they did one making fun of the Pats where it's like they had Bill Belichick saying, "We don't rebuild, we reload." And that's exactly what Belichick just did, spending most guaranteed money in an offseason to happen, and it was just insane, the fact that the Patriots are back here. So I'm excited to see this playoff run, and I hope you guys are too. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It would be greatly appreciated. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you all in the next video. Adios.